entry, locks, and wall orders. So for my objectives today, you're going to know the major types of locks and their components, explain forcible entry tactics for each type of lock, describe the different tools used for forced entry through these locks. Also, know and identify low-bearing walls, describe the materials of interior and exterior walls, and know when to attempt a fork. This is a door lock, just pretty. It's actually a Martise lock because of the deadbolt and the latch. The latch is the catch, it's what catches the door and holds it closed. The operator lever turns the latch, it's the handle, and the deadbolt reinforces the latch. Parts of a padlock, pretty simple. It's got a U-shape shackle, unlocking mechanism, which is usually like a combination or a keyhole, and then the lock body. For safety, you keep your cutting tools sharp, and the reason for this would be so that you have a dull blade. It's going to be harder to cut through something, probably cause an issue where something goes flying, someone gets hurt. So follow that up, use proper PE, helmets, gloves. Sometimes you'll use a chain to hold the lock in place so it doesn't fly. And then have others stand back. Cylindrical locks. Design locks and handles are set up into pre-drill holes. Forcing injury, you place a pry bar near a locking mechanism and lever it. One side of the door typically has a key in the knob lock. Opposing side will have a keyway, button, or type of lock and unlocking mechanism. Like it says there, you just place a pry bar near the locking mechanism and lever it. A lot of times you'll use like a Halligan or something. Padlocks, most common locks on the market. Regular heavy duty versions are available. Various unlocking devices, keyways, combination wheels, combination dials. Octopus lock cannot be forced through by conventional means. A lot harder, a lot to get through. Must be twisted from mounting pads, probably using like a pipe wrench or something like that. Forcing entry into padlocks, cut the shackle or the hasp. Breaking the shackle is the best method. If a padlock is made of case hardened steel, many conventional methods will be ineffective. I think so. This is the one where you would use padlocks. If a padlock is made of case hardened steel, most conventional methods of breaking the lock will not work. The types of tools you would use: bolt cutters, duckbill lock breakers, bam tool, which I'm going to show you a video of that in a second, locking pliers and chain, and a torch. Here we go. So one of the tools is the duckbill lock breakers. It's basically just like, it's got this handle and this wedge here, you can hammer into it. So it's a pretty simple tool. We all know what bolt cutters are. The bam tool, I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen it before. So I got a video of how that thing works. Basically, it has a long handle and a screw that you screw into the padlock. So basically you force this screw into it, and then it has this handle, and you watch the guy, he's basically going to take this handle and hit it really hard to pull it out of the shaft. Once he he gets it in place, he's going to start hammering it with the handle. So he drills it in there. Man, pretty cool. And then locking pliers and chain, like I said before, it's just a way to, while cutting the lock keeps the lock flying away. Mortise locks. This is most commonly found in hotel rooms and things like that. Basically, looks kind of like this, like I showed you earlier. Has a deadbolt. The latch is separate. The deadbolt is just there for additional reinforcement. Pretty hard locks to get through. A lot of times you'll need some special tools to get through it. Alright, the difficult to force, use the through the lock technique. Rim locks and deadbolts. Rim locks and deadbolts can be surface mounted onto the interior of the door frame. It's found in residence and secondary locks to support the through the handle locks. A lot of times these are going to be exterior locks. I don't know, the interior of the door frame. Okay. It can be seen from the outside of the keyway that has been bored into the door. Have a bolt that extends at least 1 inch into the door frame that makes the door more difficult to force. One of the ways to get forcible entry for these is a K tool. They're pretty simple. Looks like a K. This is the K tool right here. Shaped like a K, basically you have a blade on the inside right here. And so you'll slide this down the door. This side is going to be against the frame. So your door knob or your lock will fit right into here. Then you hammer it and it'll cut away the lock. Any questions about locks? Forcible entry? There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different tools to use and different techniques. No questions? Comments? Concerns? Alright, so the next part is breaching walls and floors. Breaching a wall may be the best, quickest option as a last resort. First, got to consider whether your wall that you're next to is load bearing or not. It could cause a collapse if breached, and non-weight bearing walls can be removed safely. The thing about this is I thought a lot about this as I was doing this, and in the scenario where you've got to bail through a wall, it's going to be hard to see, it's going to be hard to hear, you're going to be in a pretty intense situation. So the best thing to do is stay calm. Exterior walls can be constructed of one or more materials. Breaking through can be very difficult. I mean, you're talking drywall, The interior can have all sorts of other stuff in it, like wires. Residentials are typically constructed of wood or metal studs covered by plaster, gypsum, or sheetrock. Commercial buildings may have concrete block interior walls. Breaching an interior wall can be dangerous due to electrical wiring, plumbing, cables, cable wires, and telephone wires can be load bearing as well. After determining the type of wall, locate the stud away from the electrical outlets and switches. Tap on the wall to find the hollow sound between the studs. So like I said, it's usually constructed of wood or metal studs and covered by some sort of sheetrock. And breaching it can be dangerous because of what's inside. Interior walls. Locate a stud away from electrical outlets and switches and make a small hole to check for obstructions. If the area is clear, you can expand that opening to see what's in there. Floors. Most floors are wood or poured concrete. Both can be difficult to breach, and this is truly your last resort. It's the last thing you want to even try to do. And even it says that you need a rotary saw to get through it, and 9 times out of 10 you're not going to have that on hand when you need to breach through it. Alright, in conclusion, 3 major parts of the lock: the latch, the operator level, and deadbolt. All padlocks have shackles and an unlocking mechanism and a lock body. Four categories of locks: cylindrical, padlocks, mortise, and rim locks and deadbolts. Consider if a wall is load bearing before you breach. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Do you always pull a door outwards? How do you go about doing that?
Pull a door outwards?
When you're breaking, or not, when you're trying to forcible entry through a door.
Well, it just depends on what kind of door you have, because if the hinge is on the outside, then your door's going to be inward swinging. But if your hinge is on the inside, then your door's going to be... Said that right. Okay. It depends on what side your hinges are on, which side the door opens.
Okay.
Really, when it comes to locks, it just depends. Like, you're not really worried which way the door swings. You're just trying to get it open.
Okay.
And a lot of times if your hinges are on the inside and you see your hinges, sometimes it's easy just to knock the pin out of the hinge. Out of the hinges and go in like that if you don't have any tools on it.
Right, if you got external hinges and you can see them, rather than breaking the lock, just pop the pins.
And one other thing, you talked about walls and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times firemen tend to get lax when they're in a dark room and you're walking by a window or something like that, you got your way out.
Mm-hmm.
But now they come up with all different types of glass,
Right.
And a lot of times it's hard to get through that glass. So you might want to tend to look at how to open that window as opposed to trying to break the glass. Because it might be just easier to undo the window and slide it up or open it out.
Yeah, breaching walls and floors is going to be really your last resort in getting out.
I think they had in Bolton that time with a baby. And they had
We had to make a hole through the back.
through the back.
We had to take a sledgehammer to the bricks and let the door on the back.
Exactly.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on a mortise lock?
Mortise lock? So basically, the mortise lock has 2 separate mechanisms. The deadbolt is separate from the latch. Whereas some of these doors, like these out here, the latch and the deadbolt are technically the same thing. Because once you lock the door, you're locking the latch.
Okay.
Mortise lock has 2 separate mechanisms, like the ones you see in hotel rooms a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It has a deadbolt at the top, and then the latch that also opens the door. You can lock both of them. The deadbolt is just for extra security.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
A better picture was one in front.
I will say one thing, on those type of doors right there, I see a lot of those on burglar type bars.
Mhm.
I've got one like that on my front door, and that cylinder right there, right here, it can go out that way or it can swing up downward, and those are kind of hard to get into.
And that's why they say that one of your best ways of getting into those, I think, is through the lock technique.
Through the lock, yeah.
Through the lock itself.
See, it says, forcing entry is difficult and will probably require the through the lock technique. So you'll probably have to end up boring through the lock in order to get into it.
You put back, you got a slide to it? You put back
I don't think I have a picture of it.
That's the one where you use that, bam bam thing?
I think that's a similar technique. You're not going to be able to hold on to the lock as well with the Bam Bam tool. You probably could get through that lock with the Bam Bam tool, but you're probably going to need, like, I don't know, some sort of saw or torch or something to get through it.
Yeah. I think out of all of them, that would probably be the harder one to get.
Yeah, it's considered one of the more difficult ones to get through. Like, but with hockey puck locks, still on the outside, you can grab that with a pipe tool or something like that and actually twist it loose.
Yeah.
But with that, you're gonna have to go through it.
Yeah. I think probably the better way to try to get into one like that is probably to get you like a Halligan and
And
try to push that door away
wedge
from
it in.
it. Yeah, get that away from that frame.
that'll probably be the easiest way.
To me, like that Bam Bam tool, all that is kind of like a dent pulling tool. I think they use that tool a lot at body
Yeah, I
shops.
mean it's pretty simple. You screw that. I think you can actually drill from the back end of it, but you drill it in, and it just grabs the inside of the lock, and you
Yeah.
force it out.
And they use that to pull out dents. I've seen them do that some. Yeah.
Would you always use forcible entry on the side of the lock, or has it been known that you could possibly go in on the other side and pull the screws out of the actual bolt, the hinges?
Well, I mean, I guess that's the problem is you can't get to the other side. You mean the other side of the door?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them they have cracks, or I guess.
I'm not sure actually.
Yeah.
Say it again, that's what you said?
Yeah, like a door that say, some people will put multiple deadbolts and then reinforce their door if they've been broke in before. You could take a halogen or a pry bar or something and beat it in and actually pull the small screws out of the hinges
Yeah.
and pull the door completely off the hinges instead of sitting there fighting the 6 deadbolts or 3 deadbolts or whatever.
Now, going back to getting away from locks, going back to breaching the wall. Is there anything that you can do that tells you whether or not it's a load-bearing wall or whatever? Say, for instance, you're in a room as a firefighter and you don't know what's upstairs or whatever.
Yeah, well, I know that when we were in the academy, they taught us, to kind of, you can look at certain walls and how they're bent to the ceiling and what they're made of to kind of give you an idea of what if they're supporting the roof or not. But as far as being able to see it, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I know that in those situations, it's going to be if you're dealing with a fire situation, it's going to be really hard to see. So I think probably at that point, the best way is to I guess just take a peek and see if you can get through. I'm really not sure about that one. Any other questions?